Part 1. The morning everything changed. Maya Rodriguez was running late for school again. At 16, she was the kind of person who always hit snooze one too many times. She grabbed her backpack, nearly tripping over her cat, Mr. Whiskers, and rushed out the door. "Maya, your lunch," her mom called from the kitchen, but Maya was already halfway down the street. It was a Tuesday morning in October, and Maya had a chemistry test third period that she definitely wasn't ready for. But as she jogged toward the bus stop, something caught her attention. A weird tingling sensation on her left forearm, right below her elbow. She glanced down while waiting for the bus. There was a small mark there, kind of red, maybe a scratch. She couldn't remember bumping into anything. It didn't hurt exactly, but it felt strange, like when your foot falls asleep, but more specific, more concentrated. "Whatever," Maya muttered to herself, pulling down her sleeve. She had bigger problems, like the fact that she couldn't remember a single thing about ionic bonds. The bus pulled up, and Maya climbed on, completely unaware that this tiny mark on her arm was about to change her entire life. Part 2. When things got weird. By lunchtime, the tingling had gotten worse. Maya sat in the cafeteria with her best friends, Zoe and Marcus, barely touching her pizza. "You good?" Zoe asked, noticing Maya rubbing her arm. "Yeah, I think I scratched myself on something this morning. It's kind of bothering me." Marcus, who was obsessed with watching medical shows, immediately leaned in. "Let me see. Is it red? Swollen? Could be an infection." "Dude, it's literally just a scratch," Maya laughed, but she rolled up her sleeve anyway. The three of them stared at her arm. The mark had definitely gotten bigger. It was about 2 inches long now, raised slightly, with an odd pattern to it. Almost like tiny bumps in a line. "That's weird," Zoe said quietly. "Yeah, that doesn't look like a normal scratch," Marcus added, his voice taking on that concerned tone he got when he thought something was seriously wrong. Maya pulled her sleeve back down. "I'm fine. It's probably just a rash or something. My mom has all these weird lotions at home." But even as she said it, Maya felt a knot forming in her stomach. Because the truth was, the sensation was spreading. It wasn't just her forearm anymore. She could feel something, like a faint buzzing, creeping up toward her shoulder. Part 3. The urgent care visit. By the time Maya got home from school, her arm was throbbing. The mark had darkened to an angry purple color, and the tingling had turned into a dull, constant ache. Her mom took one look at it and grabbed her car keys. "We're going to urgent care. Now." "Mom, it's really not that." "Maya, now." 20 minutes later, they were sitting in a sterile examination room that smelled like hand sanitizer and anxiety. A young doctor with kind eyes came in, introducing herself as Dr. Patel. "So, Maya, tell me what happened," Dr. Patel said, pulling on gloves. Maya explained about noticing the mark that morning, how it had gotten worse throughout the day. Dr. Patel examined her arm carefully, her eyebrows furrowing more and more with each passing second. "Any recent injuries? Falls? Bug bites? Animal scratches?" Maya shook her head. "No, nothing. I just woke up and it was there." Dr. Patel pressed gently around the mark. "Does this hurt?" "A little, but it's more like, it feels weird. Like something's moving under my skin." The doctor's expression changed. It was subtle, but Maya caught it. A flicker of concern that Dr. Patel tried to hide behind a professional smile. "I'm going to order an X-ray, just to be safe. Probably nothing, but I want to rule out any foreign objects or bone involvement." "An X-ray? For a scratch?" Maya's mom asked. "Just being thorough, Mrs. Rodriguez." Part 4. The X-ray room. The X-ray technician was a guy named Kevin who looked like he was maybe in his 20s. He had a friendly face and made jokes while positioning Maya's arm on the cold metal plate. "All right, stay super still for me. This'll just take a second." He stepped behind his protective screen, and Maya heard the machine whir. Once, twice, 3 times, then silence. Maya waited, expecting Kevin to come back and tell her she was done. But instead, she heard him muttering something behind the screen. Then she heard the sound of keys clicking rapidly, like he was typing something urgent. Kevin, are we good?" Maya called out. No response. Then she heard footsteps. Fast footsteps, and suddenly Kevin was rushing out of the room, not even looking at her. "Stay right there," he called over his shoulder, his voice cracking slightly. "Don't move." Maya's heart started pounding. Her mom, who had been sitting in the waiting area, must have seen Kevin's face, because suddenly she was bursting through the door. "What's wrong?" What happened? Before anyone could answer, Dr. Patel appeared, moving quickly but trying to maintain her composure. Behind her came another doctor, older, with gray hair and glasses. Maya, I'm Dr. Morrison, the older doctor said. I'm a radiologist. I need you to stay very calm, okay? We're going to take you to another room. Why? What's going on? Maya's voice was shaking now. Dr. Morrison exchanged a look with Dr. Patel. We saw something on your X-ray that we need to investigate further. Part 5, the impossible image. They moved Maya to a private consultation room. The lights were dimmed, and there was a large computer screen on the wall. Dr. Morrison pulled up the X-ray image, and Maya's mom gasped. There, running along Maya's forearm bone, was a series of small, perfectly circular objects. They were arranged in a precise line, each one identical to the next. 8 of them total. What is that? Maya whispered. Dr. Morrison zoomed in on the image. The objects were metallic. That much was clear from how bright they appeared on the X-ray. But they weren't random. They had a pattern, almost like buttons. We don't know yet, Dr. Patel said carefully. Maya, I need to ask you something very important. Is there any chance you could have swallowed something as a child? Something small that might have traveled through your body? That doesn't make sense, Maya's mom said, her voice rising. Objects don't travel from your stomach into your arm bones. No, they don't, Dr. Morrison agreed. Which is why this is unprecedented. Kevin, the X-ray tech, spoke up from the doorway. His face was still pale. I've been doing this for 5 years. I've seen bullets, coins, wedding rings people swallowed, even a small toy car once. But this, the way these objects are positioned, it's too perfect, too deliberate. Deliberate? Maya felt dizzy. What do you mean deliberate? Dr. Morrison pulled up another image. This one was a 3D rendering of her arm. The metallic objects weren't just in a line. They were embedded directly into the bone itself, as if they'd been there for years, as if they'd grown there. We need to do more tests, Dr. Patel said gently. An MRI, blood work, maybe a CT scan. But Maya, I have to ask, do you remember anything unusual happening recently? Any lost time? Strange dreams. Maya's mind was racing. Strange dreams? Actually, yes. For the past 2 weeks, she'd been having the weirdest dream. The same one every night. She was in a bright white room, and there were people in silver suits standing around her. They never spoke, but they were doing something to her arm. She could never remember the details when she woke up, just the feeling of coldness and that same tingling sensation. But those were just dreams, right? I've had some weird dreams, Maya admitted quietly. The doctors exchanged looks again. Part 6. The tests begin. Over the next 3 hours, Maya was poked, prodded, scanned, and tested more than she'd ever been in her life. The MRI was the worst. 30 minutes inside a loud, claustrophobic tube, trying not to think about the impossible objects in her arm. When the results came back, the room got even quieter. The objects appear to be made of an alloy we can't identify, Dr. Morrison said, his voice barely above a whisper. It's not steel, not titanium, not anything in our standard medical database. And the way they're integrated with your bone structure. It's as if they've been there since birth. But that's impossible, because they would have shown up on any X-rays you've had before. I've never had an X-ray before, Maya said. I've never broken anything. Dr. Patel sat down across from Maya and her mom. There's something else. The MRI shows activity. Activity? Maya's mom gripped her daughter's hand tighter. The objects are emitting a very faint electromagnetic signal. It's not harmful. At least, we don't think it is. But they're active. They're doing something. The room spun around Maya. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to regular high school students who worried about chemistry tests and had arguments with their moms about curfew. We need to contact some specialists, Dr. Morrison said. This is beyond anything we've encountered. With your permission, I'd like to reach out to some colleagues at the University Research Hospital. What about removing them? Maya's mom asked. Can't you just take them out? Dr. Patel shook her head slowly. They're fused to the bone. Trying to remove them surgically could cause permanent nerve damage. And until we know what they are and why they're active, we don't want to risk disturbing them. Maya looked down at her arm. The mark on her skin had changed again. Now it looked less like a scratch and more like a screen. The purple color had organized itself into a pattern. Numbers, maybe? Or symbols in a language she didn't recognize. It's changing, Maya said, her voice small and scared. Look! Everyone stared at her arm. The symbols were definitely moving now, slowly shifting and rearranging themselves. And then, impossibly, the symbols formed words. Words in English. Activation sequence initiated. Remember, Part 7, the memory returns. The moment Maya read those words, something broke open in her mind. It wasn't a dream. It had never been a dream. She was 7 years old, playing in her backyard on a summer evening. The sun had just set, and she was catching fireflies in a jar. Her mom called her inside for bed, but Maya wanted just 5 more minutes. That's when the light appeared. Not from the sky, from the ground. A circular area of grass started glowing with a soft blue light, and before Maya could run, she felt herself being pulled downward, like the earth itself was swallowing her. She didn't scream. She couldn't. Everything happened too fast. She woke up in that white room. The people in silver suits were there, and they weren't people at all. Their bodies were too thin, their movements too smooth. They communicated without speaking, and somehow Maya understood them. We mean no harm. Your species shows promise. This is a gift. They showed her images, Earth from space, other planets, stars she didn't have names for. They showed her numbers and equations that made sense in the moment, but dissolved from her memory like smoke. Then they did something to her arm. She felt pressure, coldness, but no pain. They were putting something inside her, they explained. A beacon, a library, a key. When you are ready, it will activate. When your world is ready, you will remember. Then she was back in her yard, jar of fireflies still in her hand, grass damp beneath her feet. Her mom called again, and Maya went inside, the entire experience already fading from her conscious mind like a dream upon waking. But not gone. Never gone. Just waiting. Now, sitting in the hospital room surrounded by confused doctors, Maya remembered everything. They visited me, Maya said, her voice distant. When I was 7, they put these in my arm. Her mom squeezed her hand. Honey, you're in shock. You're not making sense. No, Mom. I'm making perfect sense for the first time in 9 years. Maya turned to Dr. Morrison. Those aren't medical implants. They're not from here. Part 8. What it all means. Dr. Morrison wanted to keep Maya overnight for observation, but Maya refused. She knew now that hospitals couldn't help her. This wasn't a medical situation. It was something else entirely. As they drove home in silence, Maya stared at her arm. The symbols had stopped moving, settling into a pattern that looked almost like a map. A map of stars. Her phone buzzed. A text from Zoe. You okay? Marcus said you went to urgent care. Maya almost laughed. How could she explain any of this? Her best friends thought she'd just gotten a bad scratch. They had no idea that aliens were real, that they'd visited Earth, that they'd chosen a random 7-year-old girl in suburbia to carry there. What? Technology? Message? Test. When they got home, Maya went straight to her room. She pulled out an old shoebox from her closet, the one where she kept weird stuff from her childhood. Drawings, notes, random objects that had seemed important at the time. She'd completely forgotten about the drawing until now. It was on faded construction paper, done in crayon. 7-year-old Maya had drawn herself standing next to tall, thin figures. Above them, she'd written in messy handwriting, "My friends from the stars." They said, "I'll remember when it's time." Her mom appeared in the doorway, saw the drawing, and went completely silent. You kept this? Maya asked. I thought it was just your imagination. Kids draw all sorts of things. Her mom sat down on the bed, tears in her eyes. But you were different after that summer. Quieter. Sometimes you'd stare at the sky for hours. I asked you about it once, and you said you were waiting for something, but you didn't know what. Maya sat next to her mom, and they both stared at the childish drawing. What do we do now? Her mom whispered. I don't know, Maya admitted. But I think they're coming back. Part 9, the research begins. Maya didn't go to school the next day, or the day after that. Instead, she spent every waking hour trying to understand what was happening to her. The symbols on her arm changed every few hours, like a slowly updating display. Sometimes they were star maps. Sometimes they were equations. Sometimes they were just patterns that Maya instinctively knew meant something, but couldn't quite translate. Dr. Morrison had referred her case to a specialist at the university, a woman named Dr. Sarah Chun, who studied unexplained phenomena. She came to Maya's house on Thursday, along with a team of graduate students carrying equipment Maya didn't recognize. Maya, I'm not going to pretend I know what's happening to you, Dr. Chen said, setting up a scanner over Maya's arm. But I want you to know that you're not crazy and you're not alone. There have been other cases. Not many, but some. Other people with alien implants. Maya asked skeptically. Other people with objects in their bodies that don't match any known materials. Other people who remember experiences they can't fully explain. Dr. Chen's scanner beeped, and she studied the readout. Your case is unique because the objects are clearly communicating something. They want to be found. They want to be understood. One of the grad students, a guy named James, pulled up a website on his laptop. There are online communities of people who've had similar experiences. They call themselves contactees. Most are probably making it up or misremembering, but some of their stories match too many details to be coincidence. Maya read through a few testimonies. A woman in Norway who woke up with geometric scars. A man in Chile who started speaking in mathematical sequences after a strange encounter. A teenager in Japan who could suddenly see ultraviolet light. All of them remembered similar things. White rooms, thin figures, promises of gifts that would activate when the time was right. Why now? Maya asked. Why is this activating now? Dr. Chun exchanged glances with her team. We don't know for sure, but there's been unusual activity. Radio signals from deep space that don't match any known astronomical phenomena. Satellite images showing objects in orbit that shouldn't be there. Something is different about now. Maybe they're closer than they've been in years. Or maybe, James added quietly, they think we're finally ready. Part 10. The message becomes clear. On Saturday morning, exactly 1 week after the scratch first appeared, Maya woke up to find her entire arm glowing. Not the skin, the objects inside her arm. They were emitting a soft blue light that shone through her flesh like a flashlight under a bedsheet. Her mom rushed her back to the hospital, where Dr. Morrison and Dr. Chun were already waiting. They'd been monitoring Maya remotely somehow, tracking the signals from her arm. It's accelerating, Dr. Chun said, studying her equipment. Whatever's going to happen, it's happening soon. They took Maya to a special room, lead-lined, shielded from all external signals. Dr. Morrison wanted to make sure that whatever was happening was coming from the objects themselves, not from any outside source. Maya sat on the examination table, watching her arm glow brighter and brighter. The sensation wasn't tingling anymore. It felt warm, almost comforting, like something inside her was waking up after a long sleep. The symbols on her skin started moving faster, cycling through patterns and languages and images. And then, suddenly, they stopped. A single message appeared, in perfect English. Knowledge transfer ready. Accept Y/N. Everyone in the room froze. Don't touch it, Dr. Morrison warned. We don't know what knowledge transfer means. But Maya wasn't afraid anymore. She understood now. The beings who had visited her weren't trying to hurt her. They were trying to help. They'd seen something in humanity, potential, maybe, or kindness, or curiosity, and they decided to give them a gift. Not to governments, or militaries, or powerful people. To a random 7-year-old girl catching fireflies in her backyard. Because maybe that was the point. Maybe the gift was never meant for those who sought power. It was meant for those who simply wondered about the stars. Maya reached out with her right hand and touched the Y symbol on her left arm. Part 11. The transfer. The moment Maya touched the symbol, everything changed. It wasn't painful. It was overwhelming. Information flooded into her mind, not in words, but in pure understanding. She suddenly knew things she'd never learned. She could see mathematical relationships that described the fabric of space-time. She understood principles of energy that humanity hadn't discovered yet. She could visualize technologies that could solve problems her species had struggled with for centuries. Clean energy, faster-than-light communication, medical treatments, agricultural techniques. Not weapons, never weapons. Just knowledge, just possibilities. The beings who had given her this gift had been watching humanity for a long time. They'd seen the wars, the suffering, the mistakes. But they'd also seen the art, the music, the moments of extraordinary kindness. They'd seen parents loving their children and strangers helping strangers, and people choosing hope even when hope seemed foolish. And they'd decided humanity was worth the risk. The transfer lasted only a few minutes, but when it ended, Maya collapsed backward on the examination table, gasping. Dr. Chun was immediately at her side. Maya, Can you hear me? Are you okay? Maya opened her eyes. The glow from her arm was fading, the symbols disappearing. The tingling sensation was gone. She felt normal, but also completely different. I'm okay, she said softly. I'm more than okay. I understand now. Understand what? Dr. Morrison asked. Maya sat up slowly, looking at all the worried faces around her. Everything. They gave me everything. Not just information, the ability to understand it, to use it, to explain it to others. They made me a translator, a bridge. She looked down at her arm. The mark that had started as a scratch was now a scar, a thin silver line that caught the light at certain angles. The objects were still there. She could feel them, but they were dormant now. They'd served their purpose. They've been watching us for thousands of years, Maya continued. Visiting occasionally, testing, learning. And they've decided we're ready. Not as a species, not yet, but individuals. People who can handle the responsibility of knowledge without corrupting it. There are others like me. More will activate soon. Why you? Her mom asked, tears streaming down her face. Why my little girl? Maya smiled. Because I was curious. Because I wanted to catch fireflies and look at stars and understand how things worked. That's all they were looking for. Curiosity without malice. Wonder without greed. Part 12, The Decision. The next few weeks were chaos. Word got out about Maya's case. Not everything, but enough. The hospital had too many people involved to keep it completely quiet. News organizations started calling. Government agencies sent representatives. Everyone wanted to know what Maya knew, what she could do, what the objects in her arm meant for humanity. Dr. Chun became Maya's advocate, helping her navigate the attention while also documenting everything for science. Together, they made a plan. Maya wouldn't release everything at once. That would be too much, too fast. Instead, she'd work with researchers, scientists, and engineers to slowly introduce new concepts and technologies. She'd help humanity advance at its own pace, without causing panic or upheaval. She'd also search for the others, the other people around the world who carried similar gifts. Together, they'd form a network, a new kind of organization dedicated to helping humanity reach its potential. Marcus and Zoe, when they finally learned the truth, had very different reactions. This is the coolest thing that's ever happened to anyone ever, Marcus said, his eyes wide. You're basically a superhero. I'm not a superhero, Maya laughed. I'm just a student with some extra knowledge. Zoe was more cautious. What if people try to hurt you? What if the government tries to lock you up and study you? They can't, Dr. Chen assured her. Maya's rights are protected. And besides, she's more valuable as a free agent helping humanity than as a test subject. But Zoe's concerns weren't unfounded. There were people who wanted to exploit what Maya knew. There were governments that wanted to weaponize it. There were corporations that wanted to profit from it. Maya had to make a choice about what kind of person she wanted to be, what kind of bridge between worlds she wanted to build. Part 13, The YouTube Video. 3 months after the scratch first appeared, Maya decided to tell her story publicly. Not through news organizations or official channels, but on her own terms, in her own way. She set up a camera in her room, took a deep breath, and hit record. Hi, my name is Maya Rodriguez, and I'm 16 years old. 3 months ago, I noticed a scratch on my arm. It turned out to be something impossible, something that changed everything I thought I knew about the universe and our place in it. She told the whole story, the scratch, the X-ray, the objects in her bone, the memories of childhood contact, the knowledge transfer. She showed her scar. She explained, in simple terms, what the beings had told her about humanity's potential. I'm making this video because I don't think knowledge should be secret, Maya said to the camera. The beings who visited me didn't give this gift to one person because they wanted one person to have power over others. They gave it to individuals like me so we could share it, so we could help everyone move forward together. She talked about the technologies she was helping develop, clean energy systems that could be built cheaply, medical techniques that could save lives, agricultural methods that could end hunger. She talked about the other contactees who were coming forward, each with their own piece of the puzzle. I know some people won't believe me, Maya said. That's okay. I'm not asking for faith. I'm asking for curiosity, for openness, for the same quality that made the beings choose to help humanity in the first place. Our ability to wonder, to question, to dream. She ended the video with a simple message. We're not alone in the universe. And that's not scary, it's amazing. We have so much to learn, so much potential to unlock. This is just the beginning of something incredible, if we're brave enough to embrace it. Maya uploaded the video and went to bed, not expecting much. By morning, it had 10 million views. Part 14, the twist no one saw coming. 6 months after her story went viral, Maya was at a conference for young scientists, speaking about her experiences and the technologies being developed from the transferred knowledge. She'd become something of a celebrity in certain circles, not the kind who got recognized on the street, but the kind who got invited to important meetings and asked for her opinion on things that mattered. After her presentation, an elderly man approached her. He was dressed in a simple suit, with kind eyes and a walking cane. "Excellent talk, Ms. Rodriguez," he said with a slight accent. "European, maybe Eastern European. Very inspiring." "Thank you," Maya said politely, used to admirers approaching her after events. "I wonder if I might have a moment of your time. There's something I'd like to show you." Something about his tone made Maya pause. This wasn't a regular conference attendee. Dr. Chun, who'd been standing nearby, stepped closer protectively. "It's all right," the man assured them. "I mean no harm. In fact, I've been looking for you specifically, Maya. My name is Dr. Andrei Volkov. Well, I suppose you could say I'm like you." He pulled up his sleeve. There, on his forearm, was a scar identical to Maya's. Maya's heart skipped a beat. "You're a contactee?" "I was visited in 1962, Dr. Volkov said quietly. "I was 8 years old, living in a small village outside Moscow. My activation happened during the Cold War, a very dangerous time to have strange objects in one's arm, as you might imagine. I've spent my entire life studying what they gave me, working in secret to advance human knowledge without drawing attention." He pulled out an old photograph from his pocket. It showed a young boy standing in snow, and beside him, the same thin figures Maya had drawn as a child. "There are more of us than you know," Dr. Volkov continued. "I've found 12 others over my lifetime. The oldest was visited in 1923. The youngest, until you, was contacted in 2009. "Why are you telling me this?" Maya asked. Dr. Volkov's expression grew serious. "Because your activation was different from all the others. For the rest of us, the transfer was partial, specific knowledge in specific fields. I received information about energy physics. Another received medical knowledge. Another, agricultural science. But you, Maya, they gave you everything. The complete transfer. What does that mean? It means you're not just a bridge between worlds. You're the key, the first human to receive the entirety of their gift. And that means..." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "Something is different now. Something has changed in how they view humanity. They've never given a complete transfer before. Never trusted any species that much." Dr. Chin spoke up. "What are you saying? That there's more coming?" Dr. Volkov nodded slowly. "I've been monitoring the same signals you have, Dr. Chun. The objects in all of our arms have been showing increased activity over the past month. Not just Maya's, all of us. We believe they're preparing for the next phase." Next phase. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. First contact. Not subtle visits to children in backyards. Real contact. Open communication. They've been testing us for over a century, giving gifts to individuals, seeing what we do with the knowledge. And now, he smiled, though there was nervousness in his eyes. "Now they're coming to see if we pass the test." Maya looked down at her scar. As if responding to the conversation, it started to glow faintly. Part 15, the final revelation. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. She stood in her backyard, the same yard where she'd been catching fireflies 9 years ago, and stared at the stars. Her phone buzzed with messages from other contactees around the world. Dr. Volkov had connected them all in a secure network. Everyone was reporting the same thing. Their scars were glowing, their objects were active, something was happening. Then, at exactly midnight, everything went silent. The crickets stopped chirping. The wind stopped blowing. Even the distant sound of traffic ceased. And a light appeared in the sky. It wasn't a spacecraft like in movies. No saucer, no lights, no sound. It was simply a presence, a space in the darkness that felt somehow different from the rest of the night. Maya felt her arm grow warm. And then, impossibly, she heard a voice. Not with her ears, with her mind. "Hello again, Maya." "Hello," she whispered out loud, tears streaming down her face. "You've done well. Your species has done well. We gave gifts to 12 people over the course of a century. We watch what you did with the knowledge. Would you weaponize it? Would you hoard it? Would you use it to help or to harm? And what did you find? Maya asked. That humanity is young but growing. Flawed but trying. Dangerous but also full of love. You passed our test, Maya. Not perfectly, no species ever does. But well enough. Your willingness to share the knowledge, to work together, to consider the collective good, it showed us what we needed to see. So what happens now? Now we begin the real work. Communication. Exchange. Learning from each other. We won't solve all your problems for you. That wouldn't help you grow. But we'll be here, offering guidance, sharing what we've learned from 10,000 years among the stars. If you want us. Maya thought about everything that had happened. The fear, the confusion, the wonder, the responsibility. She thought about all the other contactees, each carrying their piece of an impossible puzzle. She thought about humanity, messy, complicated, beautiful humanity, and whether they were really ready for this. But then she remembered what the beings had seen in her as a 7-year-old. Not perfection, not readiness, just curiosity and wonder and the simple desire to understand. Maybe that was enough. Yes, Maya said firmly. We want you. We want to learn. We want to grow. We want to be part of something bigger. The presence in the sky seemed to brighten slightly, and Maya felt a wave of warmth and approval wash over her. Then let us begin. Epilogue. 1 year later. Maya sat at her desk, looking at her college acceptance letters. MIT, Stanford, Caltech. They all wanted her, of course. She'd become the most famous 16-year-old on the planet. But she was still just Maya. She still struggled with calculus homework sometimes. She still binge-watched shows with Zoe and Marcus. She still had arguments with her mom about cleaning her room. The only difference was that now, when she looked up at the night sky, she knew she wasn't just seeing stars. She was seeing neighbors, friends, teachers. The beings hadn't revealed themselves publicly yet. They wanted to move slowly, give humanity time to adjust. But they were there, in orbit, waiting patiently for the world to be ready for everything Maya already knew. She'd made a second YouTube video, of course, explaining the latest developments. It had even more views than the first. In it, she'd ended with a quote that she thought summed everything up pretty well. A year ago, I thought a scratch on my arm was the weirdest thing that could happen to me. Turns out, it was just the beginning. We're not alone in the universe, and we never were. The only question now is, what are we going to do with that knowledge? Are we going to be afraid, or are we going to be curious? Are we going to close ourselves off, or are we going to reach out? I know what I choose, and I hope you'll choose it too. The universe is waiting. Let's go explore it together. Maya looked at her scar one more time, tracing the thin silver line with her finger. Then she opened her laptop and started typing her response to MIT. After all, she had a lot to learn. And now, she had the best teachers in the galaxy. The end. But really, it was just the beginning.